in the Earth system in terms of predicting it. That again, I think you just need to research the hell out of that before you do anything.
Yeah. Do you think that we have done any weather manipulation before?
I don't know. I probably would know too if we had, so I really doubt it. In my last job, I think I would have known.
Okay. Another thing that's coming up, and I'm hoping to get this gentleman on the show as well, is these energy weapons.
Directed energy weapons. That's taking off for sure.
Yeah. It sounds, Chris Miller, former SecDef, told me that we were really close to having kind of the dome like Israel has.
That's right.
And there's another gentleman who developed these directed energy weapons, and they're starting to be employed all over the place.
We're putting lasers. We put a laser on a ship, a destroyer, I believe. In my mind, we haven't done that fast enough.
Do you think where I'm going with this is the Retrieval program?
Yeah.
How are these things crashing? And do you think that maybe we might be... I mean, it seems...
So here's an interesting thing.
Maybe a little over... I mean...
Here's what... the crash phenomenon is interesting because some people think, if they're so advanced, how do they mess up? And there's a couple ways to address that. One is, well, maybe statistically, they're maybe coming here so frequently that, and statistically, there might be some kind of component failure, or it's going to happen. The law of averages, if you will. But that's one way. Another, in Diana's book, Diana Pasulka, Encounters, she interviews this NASA engineer. I think he was a contractor, so not a federal employee. And he calls them donations. That possibly they're doing this on purpose to help advance our society or something. Give us little breadcrumbs, if you will, technology breadcrumbs to assist. I don't know the veracity of that, but I just know that's what she puts in her book. So that's an interesting aspect of it.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So we were talking about a underwater terrain feature off the coast of California that some may speculate there may be an underwater UAP base there. What were you speaking of?
Well, so this book I refer to, Preston Dennett is the author. It's even in the title, something like USOs and Alien Undersea Base or something. I don't remember the exact title. But so he interviewed all these eyewitnesses of different types of UAP activity in SoCal. And this has also appeared in a few shows, one of them like UFO Witness, I believe, with Ben Hansen, where and a few others where they anchored off this feature. It looks like an undersea mesa in Google Earth, and it's off of Point Mugu, and in Google Earth, the way it's rendered is it does look a little bit artificial or man-made, and so him and Preston Dennett in his book and these shows, they've all speculated on it. Look at its structure; it can't be natural, and what the reality is you can go to the U.S. Geological Survey's data and find it online, and then you can look at the real feature, and it is entirely natural. It's not as weird as it looks in Google Earth because Google Earth does some filtering. And in fact, there's also some talk in different areas around the world. One is in Antarctica, or off Antarctica in the Southern Ocean, that have these very linear features in Google Earth. They kind of stand out, and some people have thought, oh my gosh, that's alien infrastructure. And I just have to dismiss all that because you just have to understand the source of the data. In Google Earth, for example, they merge different data sets. And then they might filter out the resolution of one feature that might have a higher resolution and not another. And for example, those linear features are basically just the fact that most of that ocean area has been undersampled. There might just be a few soundings in a wide area, but one ship collected high-resolution data over a track. So they'll have that in the Google Earth, and you'll see it nice and resolved, and then it'll be kind of smoothed out. And so it makes it look like a man-made feature, and it's just the data.
That's it.
Yeah, but going back to this undersea alien base, this is where I want to weave in some of this disinformation. And by who, the government possibly, I don't know. But there was a point in time this year where I was having some public discussions about the possibility of, again, of USOs interacting with the seabed and wanting to then go and do bathymetric surveys to search for those types of interactions. And I even found a feature off SoCal that might just be that. I can't explain it. It's part of this kind of ridge, underwater ridge, that a section's been carved out of it as it appears, and it's been moved horizontally 2 kilometers. It's a big clump of rocks. Normally, when you get these things like landslides in the ocean, they're called turbidity flows. It's like an avalanche. They just sort of slough off, right, down the terrain feature. But this thing looked like it was carved out. And I took it to some geologist friends. I don't know how that happened. And so I want to get an ROV on that feature and check it out. And I'm working on that. But then there's this other aspect of the one that the people I told you I don't think were actually accurate in calling this other feature. I think it's called Sycamore Knoll is the name. It was an undersea base, and I don't think it was. Well, weirdly, when I started talking out about this, in Google Earth, the feature was filtered out entirely, this Sycamore Knoll. Now you can't even see it. It's plain as day in the USGS database. Why would someone go to Google Earth and have that feature removed? Who did that? Why? I don't know, but again, the more I learn about our government's active disinformation campaign and the story of that guy, Paul Benowitz, anything's possible now.
Wow. Yeah, I'm with you. Do you have any other insight into government disinformation? Any other examples?
Gosh, there's probably many, but I can't think of any right now.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I just want to pick your brain.
Yeah, and I'll be clear again. It's worth me saying this. I am okay with us not acknowledging really important programs for national security. Unacknowledged programs are good for our nation. I just think that the fact that we're not letting the public and Congress know that we're being visited by entities whose intentions we don't understand and characteristics and nature we don't understand, that genie's out of the bottle. I think you know the Schumer Amendment. This is what was drafted last year and was almost passed, including words like technology of unknown origin, non-human intelligence, and what was the UAP? All of those are in that bill multiple times, that draft. And the fact that got into draft legislation means it's there. There's something there. And we know that because I know some of the people who briefed the Hill. And even though it wasn't passed in the final NDA, most of that stuff was stripped out. Like I said, it's out there now. We have to reconcile this and really inform our public to do the right thing for our nation's security.
Do you think we've had communications with non-human intelligence?
I'm sure of it. Just based on all this data and everything we're talking about,
what do you think
here.
Those communications would look like?
I don't know. But I mean, actually, if you look at Diana Pasulka's book again, Encounters, this one former NASA engineer, he called the crashes that were retrieved donations. That's a form of communication right there.
Yeah.
So I don't know the nature of the communication and who was doing the communicating, but I am pretty sure from what I've seen from my sources, very sure, highly, that's occurred. Now, with who? Parts of the government or just individuals? And actually, by the way, when you say we, if you mean the U.S. government, yeah. But as individuals, there are thousands, if not tens of thousands, of eyewitnesses who feel they've been communicated to. Mm-hmm. in different ways.
Are you familiar with Chris Bledsoe?
Yeah, I am.
What do you think about that?
Well, I'm not qualified comment on any of the validity of what he reports, but he's not alone in what he's reported. There's many people who have had encounters. Diana's second book is called Encounters, and that's the very topic. So many people have been communicated to, and it's interesting. And I got to say this too. If you look at the diversity of life on this planet, I mean, you just got to dive on a coral reef for goodness sake. Then why would there not be a diversity of higher order non-human intelligence in the universe? It just makes a lot of sense. And if that's the case, like look at all of our different nations that have different cultures, and some get along and some don't. It's not a stretch to think there were a variety of higher order non-human intelligences with different agendas. Some might be malevolent, some might be benevolent. Who knows? Or just totally neutral. That just is more and more likely as the phenomena, I think, is better understood.
Wow. Well, Tim, what's next for you? I know you got a book on leadership coming up that's going to be released at the end of the year.
I do. Well, thanks for asking about it. So, from my time in the Navy, and you served as a SEAL, I was blessed to be given some great role models in leadership, and then I was given opportunities to lead, and I came to this agency, NOAA, with that, and this is a big part of what I do now. I mentor everybody who asks me to do it, and I want to bring up that next generation. People were so good to me in my career. They carried me along the way. It's just the right thing to do to pay forward what was done for me. And my book is written for that purpose, to provide my leadership examples and lessons, if you will, from what I learned in the Navy and applied at NOAA, a scientific agency. And again, I told you it was a kind of a tough time because we always were getting our budget cut, and people wanted some inspiration, and thankfully I had a scientific degree, and they liked that. And I just talk about the examples of trying to help people in tough times when there's uncertainty. And so I provide a lot of stories. And the best leadership books to me are telling stories. I think Admiral McCraven's books are fantastic.